everyone, this is Kelly and I am here to do a walkthrough of Tarot of the Fairy Folk. I actually want to use this deck for a reading, and so I thought, hey, I need to use it, so I might as well do a quick walkthrough of it because it is a pip deck, so I know that it won't take all that long to do so. But I would like to use it without putting it back in order, so let's take a look at it. If you followed me long enough, you know, I don't feel like there's a lot of very good fairy decks. And by very good, I mean fairy decks that really do feel like they are fae decks, that they kind of embody some of the energy. Of course, there's so many different kinds of energies going with fae, but that really feel like they embody something like that. In terms of tarot decks, my most used sort of fae tarot decks would be the Hush Tarot, which is not marketed as a fae deck, but for me it does feel very much in the liminal space of fae, right? This is a fae between worlds where our world kind of crosses over, and it can be uncomfortable, it can be beautiful, uncomfortable, dangerous, all of the things, right? So I feel like this is one of those decks that really embodies that energy very, very well, and it's quite beautiful for that, and I use that a lot. I also do love MJ Cullinane's For Hoxa Tarot. This to me, I mean, there are lots of fairies in this, and it definitely has that energy. But I would say that I love this. I actually use this deck quite a bit. I'm trying to think how I feel about it. So I love this. It has, the whole, it's peopled by the fae. And it feels very reminiscent of it. It doesn't feel like anathema. It doesn't go against what I think of as the fae. Not quite as energetically liminal space for me. Sort of like an everyday worker deck that kind of moves in with the energy of the fae. Maybe not quite as liminal space as this, but I do like to use this one a lot. I didn't pull out, but like Tarot of the Hidden Realms is a wonderful sort of hits the right spots, but not that deeper liminal space as the Hush Tarot. I love the John Bauer Tarot. This is very fairy tale, into the woods, where you do need to be careful. There's lots of amazing creatures to bump into, but also, be careful where you tread, be careful who you talk to, mind your manners, all of those things. That I feel like this one might be closer to this, is what my guess is, just from the little bit I have seen of it, that it's going to be similar to this. I use this a lot for myself, especially in combination with charm casting. It's not, it kind of goes its own way. You have to be willing to tread into the woods with it. It's not, I don't think, as interested in following strictly any tarot structure. It really is sort of, sure, we'll go along with that idea of a tarot structure, but if you're too married to it, you might entirely miss the point of going off onto a rabbit trail and seeing where it finds you. I haven't put this up yet, but I have done a walkthrough of Tarot of the Witch's Garden. Now, this one, actually, I didn't realize it, but it has quite a lot of fae energy in it. It reminds me, of course, you're not seeing it as much in the majors, but you have a bit of the fairy tale, not a bit, a lot of the fairy tale, but there, look at that death card. A lot of the fairy tale, but there are definitely fae creatures. Of course, I'm not hitting a lot, but there are dryads and fairies and gnomes. There's definitely a feeling of fairy tale and fae energy in here. But I will say it feels, and this may run in this vein as well, I don't feel as much, and I haven't used this enough to tell, I don't feel like they're like this in some ways feels a little more dangerous even than this one. Like I can see you getting enticed by, a creature and wandering off and never being seen again, or falling asleep and not waking up for 100 years. And I don't feel that as much so far. In this one, it feels almost like I'm not believing anything really bad will ever happen in this world. Whereas beautiful as the John Bauer is, I do think that you could miss big chunks of time and cross into spaces that you shouldn't cross into. So it's kind of interesting. I think Children of Litha is very similar to the Witch's Garden, right? This has got fey creatures in the major arcana. The minors are animals, and the courts are people of different cultures. So this really does pull in. I do love the Mer energy here. The court cards, the cup court cards in this one are just gorgeous with the Mer creatures. So this feels like a world kind of in unity, fey, human, animal, kingdom, all in unity, which is, less realistic in the sense that we aren't all living happily ever after, sharing energetically. Like there is a lot of in different energy between them. But I really like this because it does sort of set up the understanding of the different ways in which the animal, human, fey energies intermingle. So, and this kind of feels a little bit more closer to that, where everybody's kind of living in this world together. And then again, I didn't pull out Terror of the Hidden Realms, and I'm sure there's other ones. This is a combo deck of the Heart of Fairy and the Fairies Oracle. One of these is, I think the Fairies Oracle is in print still. The Heart of Fairy, I believe, is not. That's the one with the blue backings. Again, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that Brian Froud has seen actual fairies. There's no doubt in my mind. This is very much similar to the John Bauer Tarot. Obviously, very different artwork, but very much the same. You can encounter amazing, beautiful things, but you better beware and be wary as well. It's got those things in it with a different style. So maybe a little more storybook style, but it's storybook style in the way that the old tales were more, in my personal opinion. Where this is much more speaks to the intersection, which can be a dangerous liminal space between our world and the Fae. Right? Where things kind of get stuck and tangled up and tangled together, which is where we most often would bump into this type of energy, right? So that kind of feels like those sticky spaces between the two, and where those things are intermingling, and you have to be careful with them. So, and it's not that I have no other fairy decks, but these are probably the ones that stick out the most at the moment. So when I saw Terra of the Fairy Folk, I was like, okay, what is this? I found a couple images. I was in the Barnes and Nobles, and I'm like, I don't have super high hopes, but this felt like, okay, this might be very John Bauer-esque in a sense, in that stepping into fairy tale, but fairy tale back when fairy tales understood, the energy and to be careful and to be wary. And so I decided to pick it up. So again, Terror of the Fairy Folk. It is a Lo Scarabeo deck. Let's say, I don't see, here we go. Giacinto Gardenza, and then Rachel Paul. I'm guessing maybe wrote the guidebook. As per usual, with a Lo Scarabeo, while you get a very small booklet, what is actually English is even smaller than that. So we have 24 little pages here. So we'll see if any of these feel like they are actually to do with the cards, or if this is just sort of a random base meanings here. To the cards. Here is the back of the cards. I don't absolutely prefer scenes on my cards. It's not my favorite, but it is kind of cute because, you know, either way, it's kind of a dual scene here where either way something is upright. And it's not because I do reversals, or even if I did would really care, because the way I pull it wouldn't matter if I could tell it was a reversal or not. I just prefer a little bit more of a uniformed backing. But let's be honest, John Bauer's not like that. It is definitely a scene as I love these backs. Absolutely love those backs. So that's the backing there. Typical Los Scarabeo cardstock. I don't have an issue with it in any way. It's nothing to get excited about, but it does nothing. It riffle shuffles really well. Like, I don't have an issue with it, so it's one of those mixed things. And again, this is a pip deck with little fairy creatures in the middle, but a pip deck nonetheless. So this kind of reminds me too a little bit, I have to pull that out, the Hesychos tarot that has like the minors with all the little gnomes in it. That is pretty cute. So let's see, does this tell us anything about anything? No. I will say this does, just to try to get a feel for it, the Fool says, take it slow and float aimlessly through a magical pond as you ponder your place with simplicity and innocence. Youthful exuberance and joy lead your heart forward without much foresight. Be like a child, throw caution to the wind, and float onward any way if spirit moves you. So we do have this Fool that is floating away on the back of a turtle. So it does seem to be referencing to the card that we see. So we have sort of a more what I would say is a historical Fool, a little bit more of maybe the madman, a little bit more of the bumbling Fool, I suppose you could say, off on an adventure with companion, a little gnome of some sort here, a little frog on his back, and a little bit more of a look of bewilderment or confusion on his face than the kind of modern fools that we often see. But it, you know, it's very recognizable as a Fool card. Don't be foolish. You know, ride along, listen to your companion, see what comes next. They are kind of like perspection wise, like they are kind of slightly larger heads. Not really, not all of them. The gnomes, I guess, are. But I kind of really like the look of this. It's like, it is like fairy tale illustration, but I don't know. I like it. Again, this is much more, sorry, I'm looking, I should move this over here. The image is over here, and sometimes I can see the image better than I can in person. So that's what I was looking at. This is, again, very much a more of a traditional Marseille style. I don't know if that's quite the right term, but more of a traditional magician, where you have more of a trickster. She is using all of her ingenuity and her wits, and more of a performance kind of trickster magician than the all-powerful Gandalf type of a wizard or magician here. So again, leaning towards the traditional, which makes sense as this came out of Europe, or this deck does. I quite love the High Priestess. Again, still has the whimsy, has the squash or the little pumpkin that she's on. Obviously a fairy, feels more like a pappas, you know, with her hand in the same position as we would see from the Hierophant. Oh, that's an interesting Hierophant. So it does feel to me, despite the fairy wings, as again, a little bit more like a pappas. So it does feel, again, more of that European traditional feel to it, but with the fairy tale addition to it. I quite love her, and I love the book. Here we have the queen. Again, I actually really like her. She feels like she is a ruling queen. She makes me think actually of one of the ladies who plays in my D&D campaign. Has a little... what is she? She's a halfling, I think. And I don't know, even with her face, it kind of reminds me of her. But she does look very regal. Her clothing is very much regal, and same thing with the high priestess. Like, these definitely feel like they are serious rulers, again, that we see in some of the traditional imagery. So she feels very much like a powerful queen, and he is awesome as a powerful warrior king. Look at the grasshopper here. He's going to do the work of warrioring, and she is going to do the work of holding things together and keeping things in place while he's off in battle. I like the red flower in his hand here. Let's see if it says anything. Again, just to try to get a feel if there's so much work to be done and battles to be won. So hop to it like the grasshopper as you move forward and plot your next bold move. It's time to make decisions and rule your land with an iron fist. Shields are most definitely up. Life will be in motion and things will happen. Time to get it done. So yeah, it does seem like it is actually... at least the little paragraphs that you get are referencing what we see in the image. So that is fantastic. I do quite love him. As well as him, right? This looks like more, this is a Hierophant, but it does to me look a little bit more like a Merlin that has like a helper, or that is like a guy, somebody that he's training, and so he's putting him through all of this work. Definitely has a bit of a negative connotation to the Hierophant, which I think is funny. Seeking counsel from a force that is much larger than ourselves, but in this case, instead of God, it is a magician's book. Consulting the book of spells, perhaps hiding away from a powerful figure or someone who holds power over us, learning to remain prostrate when faced with more powerful forces, looking for others for wisdom and validation. So you see a mix again of those old definitions of the Hierophant and the complexity of the Hierophant, that could be in our best interest or very easily could not be in our best interest, and being wary. That I find to be very interesting that that's is pulling through. All right, nail polish is coming off. That's all right. Here we have the Lovers. What does she have in her hand? Is that an egg? Oops, come on. Nope, there we go. I can't quite tell if that's an egg. Let's see if it says. Oh, it skips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there it is. 6. A choice must be. Protect your egg and cultivate your healing. Beware of illusion and the fog of lust. Allow yourself to blossom in this new endeavor. Choose love, but choose wisely. Again, it's quite beautiful. Here we have the Chariot, and I actually quite like this. Again, this does feel very sort of Rackham, John Bauer. Again, I'm not saying that they're copying, but it definitely has that feel. I love the mice here, the confident chariot driver, although she does have a whip. She doesn't really need a whip, right, if she's confident in doing her driving, but I quite love that chariot. Look at Justice. She is going to poke your eye out with those things. So we do have Justice at 8 and Strength at 11, because that is the traditional way, the correct way, right? There are larger forces at play controlling the outcome of your situation. Give yourself up to the higher power and the greater good in the grand scheme of things. Allow the universe to work as it needs to work, and recognize there is something far greater than you whose hand is. So this is being guided by the energies of justice versus that sort of blindness of justice. Well, maybe allow yourself to be guided by that, because justice is more blind to the shenanigans of the world, and is just doing what needs to be done. But she's pretty powerful. That's a giant indeed. Here we have the Hermit. He is pretty awesome looking. Time to go off on your own, discover your purpose, ignite your soul's fire. I love his glasses here. And he's out in a cave doing, oh, look. Look at that. He's like a satire or something. As a satyr. I always get it wrong. Love it. Here we have the wheel. Look at Lady Fortuna like in the water. From happiness to sadness and joy to pain, round and round the great wheel of life goes. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. But be happy in all things and satisfied, for the hand of a much larger present spins the great wheel no matter where you wind up. Remain balanced and centered in a time of great need. Again, I do really quite love that. Makes me so... Oh no. Poor frog. Again, traditional strength where generally the man is fighting the lion. Wrestling, it's more of a fortitude and that physical strength there. And we can see that with this little fairy. And the real strength means getting your hands on that wriggly and slimy proverbial toad and working it into submission. Be gentle on your quest and hang on. Your efforts will be successful if you have patience and gentleness amid power struggles. So it's about being strong, but not without some patience and gentleness. I'm not sure if that frog feels like he's overly gentle, but it's adorable. I love it. Oh my goodness, what is happening in this hanged man? Now, again, this looks much more like a traitorous hangman, right? This is somebody who's done something wrong and is paying the consequences of his actions, as we again see in the older decks. So here, the hanged man... Sometimes life places in situations we have no other option to just let go and allow the universe. Even if you feel you're in pouring rain and the world is a very unsafe place, have faith that a good outcome... I don't know. This kind of feels shortened force. Nothing to do but wait. Like there's nothing he can really do, right? He is not getting out of this situation. He is definitely in a precarious... But why in these older deck styles do they do weird things? Like why is he sticking his tongue out to this snake? I have no clue, but older style decks are full of these types of oddities. And look at, he's got like a salamander tail, or I don't know if it's a snake tail. We definitely see lots of dropped pants and butts in the old traditional deck as well. I don't know about that one. That's my least. Look at death. Now, this is not a death that you want to meet anywhere. Very hoarding, look at the tongs with the bones and the gathering up of the skulls. This is not, other than a frog being there, there's no transformation here. Death calls us to embrace change as we transition from one form to the next. What form? From human to skeleton, leaving behind which does not serve us. Some fear death, but death is only change. I'm sorry, but this is written for maybe a more modern death. For energy cannot be destroyed, only replaced and renewed. It is time to step into new life with courage. Nothing about this card makes me feel like I'm gonna step in. I don't want to be in the same room with this, and none of this makes me feel like I'm going to transform into anything other than maybe a zombie or a skeletal walker, or I don't know, something that I don't want to step into. I love it, but no, that would have different connotations in this deck for me. Temperance is absolutely gorgeous. I like her red hair. We often see red and blue. But she's got the water. She's got the wings of more like air, almost like she's a jumping fish that can jump out of water. So that kind of mixing of elements you could see there as well. Quite beautiful. Look at him. Yeah, he's a good old-fashioned creepy devil. Again with the tongue. But look at them. They're like, neither one of them are bound into anything. She's like hanging on to the guy's leg with with one arm, right? So there's a sense of you've kind of given yourself over to this situation. You're going to have to get out of this situation because it's probably not a healthy one for you. A very typical, again, very traditional looking devil card there. Here we have the Tower card. Oh, is that like a chinchilla? Here we have like a ants, all these fire ants that are here, and that the top of their dwelling place is getting knocked down. But this guy's just, chilling out, just gonna keep on moving. No biggie. Expect the unexpected. You could be riding your chinchilla down the road, and a tower could just explode, and a lot of red ants come out and make things uncomfortable. Oh, this is pretty gorgeous. This kind of reminds me of the Chicoli. I can't remember what that's called. When the night is darkest, a star will appear to guide you. Allow yourself to be open to receive blessings from on high as flowing waters pour forth to fill you and redeem you. That's like the hilt of a... She's got... Oh, no, that's her hat. Okay. I'm like, what is that behind her? But that's... I guess that's a hat. Yeah, it's like I got little funny tassels on it. Look at the moon. I mean, that kind of gives you miniature Baba Yaga feel, right? Like a mini gnomish, goblinish, Baba Yaga-ish energy with the moon. And then look at the sun. They are butt cheek to butt cheek. And he's, let's see what it says. We got to see what it says. Joy and celebration. Now is a time to reach forth from high places. You're protected, nourished, safe as you bask in the glow of true happiness. I don't know. I don't know if he's the one who's like, I got it made right now. Happy family, supporting each other. I just want to see the person who wrote this, like writing this with a straight face while looking at some of the images. I mean, I'm loving it, but it definitely has a quirky, trickstery, little more goblin-y feel on some of them. This is gorgeous. I love this Judgment card. Again, this definitely reminds, look at the little people creeping out. Look at that one. Definitely reminds you a little bit more of like the John Bauer. I quite love that Judgment. And then here we have the World flying up above it. People running around in the maze underneath, but this one's figured out a way to just bypass it all. Okay, so that's the majors. Again, very impish, trickstery. Again, mind your manners, mind your energy. This could go one way or another, and you should be very careful about how you approach things. But it does have a very a fayness, old world style fayness. So then again, I'll go through these relatively quickly. These are pip styles. Let's see if they look Marseille-ish, right? We have the 2 cups. And again, we have a little like fairy or gnomish creature in each one of them. We have the 3 cups. See, again, we do see a little bit of that 4 of cups boredom. 5 of cups, we do see sorrow. He is crying. So I guess we don't have, now the 2 cups, interesting because we don't have 2 people. 3 of cups, we can see some growth, but it seems more food growth. That seems very much like a typical 4 of cups. 5 of cups, 6 of cups, having things harmonize together. Look at that, very cool. 7 of cups. I guess you could go with illusions here. Here we have the 8 of cups, which is often a journey. So there is some nod to Rider-Waite style in the minors. Here we have the Nine of Cups with the wish fulfillment. Ten of Cups, not, that does not have that feeling of the Rider-Waite-Smith happily ever after. The families all together. Let's just see what it says in one of the minors. Ten of Cups. Finally, fully immersing yourself in the waters of emotion. I mean, that works better with the way that I would see the Ten of Cups than the family kind of connection there. I love this page. Love the knight. He feels like a knight. There's movement. There's motion. Beautiful Queen of Cups. And the King of Cups with the seagull or hawk carrying him over the waters. Ace of Pentacles. Here we have the Two of Pentacles. Balancing your work. Figuring out your work. Three of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles. We have stable, playing the game right. Here we have five. Things have shook up. Here we have the Six. Things are smoothing out. You're gaining the resources that you need. Seven, we have some growth here. I'm not sure what Cheeto means here. I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's, another language, not anything to do with actual Cheetos. Let's see if it says. Collecting good things and treasures so you might be in a position to offer those back to the world in a 6. 7, a time of pause, taking your time, developing patience, or having patience, pretty normal. We have the 8 of Pentacles. You're now making bank on what you've learned. The 9 of Pentacles. You have the resources you need to be at leisure. 10 of Pentacles. You are just laying on your booty. Your pirate's booty, and your booty. Here we have the Page of Pentacles. Feels like a very earthy sprite. Interesting Knight of Pentacles. Definitely more slow, although rabbits are quite fast, but very fairy tale feel. Very, again, feels like halflings or gnomes or something of that nature. Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles. Here we have our Ace of Wands. Here we have Two of Wands. I'm not sure that you can see some finding balance in your spiritual life, taking aim and plotting your course. He's plotting to hit that poor bee. 3 of Wands. 4 of Wands. 5 of Wands, up to no good. So some of them you can see nods to, say, Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, and then some of them feel a little bit more just Pip-like. So it's kind of a mix of those two things, holding your ground. 8 of Wands, for me, that's mastery. 9 of Wands, he's bandaging himself up. Again, that's an image you'll see. 10 of Wands has achieved things, but is pretty exhausted by carrying it all. Here we have the Pages. The Knight of Wands with the Fox. The Queen of Wands. And the King of Wands. A lot of like gnomes and dwarfs in the kings. Here we have the Ace of Swords. 2 of Swords, looks like she's up to no good. 3 of Swords, same thing here. 4 of Swords, taking that rest. 5 of Swords, feels just more Pip-like. 6 of Swords, kind of balancing out with something to offer. The 7 of Swords, again, feels very Pip-like. 8 of Swords. 9 of Swords, we don't have the typical nightmare or anything. And just, again, these to me feel very Pip-like. Adorable Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. Again, kind of a slightly larger, almost too realistic head sometimes. Gorgeous Queen of Swords. And more of a gnomish or dwarvish on the kings as well. So there we have it. I would say there's kind of a mix, right? In terms of the minors, there's a mix in terms of is what is nodding to some of the modern meanings and what is just a straight up pip, or doesn't, it seems to be more like a straight up pip. So this definitely has a more mischievous feel. It has a more, again, gnomish, dwarvish, even though there's obviously other creatures as well, but it just kind of has a tricksy, trickstery, mischievous feel. Like you're not entirely sure what would come up in a reading, which, look, if you do sort of Fae, oh, I must have messed these up. You know, you're not entirely sure with what you are going to come up with in that, which is realistic to Fae energy. I'm not sure if this is one that I would use a lot with, I certainly probably not with clients unless I felt like this would really work for them, but I am glad that I have it. Again, there's not a lot of Fae decks, and this one does have, again, I'm not sure that it's a helpful energy for doing readings, because I feel like you would be kind of questioning the intention of any message that came through. So I don't know that I would feel necessarily that messages that came through here had my best interest at heart. But you know, it's kind of like, it feels almost like Sibylla. Like, I'm probably going to get a pretty good kind of call me to task kind of message, but it's going to come like with a kick in the pants along with it, or a slap upside the head. That's kind of, for me, what it feels like. I think I would use it sparingly when I was sort of in the mood for a little bit of tongue-in-cheek and, okay, well, let's just see what in the world is going on. And I'm going to probably take any answers with a bit of a grain of salt and a bit of making sure that whatever I'm thinking and processing through, again, has my best interest, because I don't think I would be 100% confident that it would have my best interest. But for a part of a collection of actually not a lot of Fae decks, I am happy to have it, whether or not it gets pulled out very or not often or not. I could see this being one of those infamous type Fae decks that, you know, comes up missing a lot, or things of that nature, like happens with the Brian Froud decks as well. So I'm glad I got it. Again, wasn't too much, certainly with a coupon. I don't know what it would be on Amazon, but originally $25. And I think, again, we don't have a lot of decks that feel very Fae, and this does feel Fae. It's just not necessarily maybe as trustworthy as some of the other ones. So use at your own risk would be my recommendation on this one. Okay, I hope that you've enjoyed this and that you have a wonderful rest of your night.